Welcome to Plazko.com. I'm Bonnie Clewans, and today I'm going to show you how to use bead tips. Bead tips are commonly used with cording and thread, and it really gives a very finished, professional look to your product. Today's project, we will be using wire. This is a nylon-coated wire known as soft flex, and the color that we are using is bronze. The size of the wire is 0.019, which is classified as medium. And it's a very nice material, easy to use. Couple points I want to make about it. Because it is a wire, you always want to make sure that you don't put kinks or permanent bends into the wire. So it's important when you're working with wire, you gently coil it, or if you have given a gift to someone, make sure it's in a box or a bag which is large enough to accommodate it. And when caring for it, you want to hang up your necklace, and I always recommend using either a shower curtain ring or some other device that will allow you to hang your necklace and have easy access to it. The next thing on our necklace that we have are 8mm picture Jasper stones. And I love these because they're kind of like chameleons. Whatever you put them with, if you put it with gold, silver, rose gold, they take on an interesting look. So it's a very nice neutral color. I also have a small spacer, which is a 4mm sterling bead, and you can pretty much use any 4mm bead, metal bead, gold filled, sterling, whatever your choice for this project. I'm a big believer in proportion, so I like to go large, small, small, and that way you have an interesting and neat look to your piece. So we've used some 4mm bicone crystals and a 4mm picture Jasper bead, and then we finish with a 1x1mm crimp tube. And this is a little sterling bead that allows us to squeeze and hold our station of beads in place. We frequently will hear the term a floating necklace or an illusion necklace, since it gives the illusion that the beads are floating free. Now let's get started. When I start a project, I like to start in the middle. It makes it very easy. I get my beads on, I know exactly what I'm doing, and if I have a problem, if there is an issue where I've misjudged something, I can always shorten up a little bit on the end. I'm going to load my beads for the first station on my necklace. And I start with a 1x1 crimp tube. The tube is very, very fine, and it basically almost takes up all of the diameter of the wire inside. So I can only use it on a single strand of 019 soft flex. Then I add on a crystal, one of my 4mm picture Jasper, another crystal, a sterling, an 8mm, and I repeat the process until I have 3 beads on my wire. I'm using one crystal in between my larger beads. I have all my beads loaded on my wire. I have a small 1x1 crimp tube on either side. I pick up my flat nose pliers and gently squeeze in place. As you can see, the beads are held in place with my crimp tube, and I repeat on the other side. So now I've got my beads set right in the middle of my wire. The next thing I need to do is measure 1 inch and add another crimp tube, which will be for my second station. A lot of people find it very difficult to thread beads onto wire. What I like to do is, using my cutter, make a diagonal cut at the end of the wire. That way it's sharp and it acts like a needle. If I'm doing a lot of stringing on a piece of wire, I may have to sharpen that point several times in the process. Now I'm ready, positioning my crimp tube 1 inch away from the middle section, and I just squeeze that one in place. Now I'm ready to add my next station of beads. Crystal, 4mm Jasper, another crystal, sterling, 8mm, sterling, crystal, 4mm, crystal, and my final 1mm crimp tube. And I always try to use gravity wherever I can so that my beads fall in a downward position, holding my wire and beads in place, and I just squeeze that crimp tube in place. Now I'm ready to repeat the same process on the other side. Now we've got our 3 stations of beads and we're ready to finish our necklace. And I just look at the ends and want to make sure that I am even, and I see that I'm just a tad off on one side, maybe 1/4 of an inch, so I just trim that off to even it up. Now we're ready to use our bead tips. They are also known as calottes, and that is a French word since a lot of these jewelry findings were originated by French jewelers. The bead tip, and they come in different types. This one has an open end which allows me to attach my clasp and a variety of different clasps. Some of them come with closed ends. For the most part, I like to use the open-ended bead tip. I insert the wire through the hole in the bead tip. And you need to remember the clasp has to go on the open side. If I had it turned around, my clasp would be facing in the wrong direction. So remember, anytime you're using bead tips, they always have to go facing open towards the clasp. Now, if you read various design books, they will talk about tying a knot inside a bead tip. With nylon-coated wire and soft flex, that is not recommended since the wire, especially at this diameter, would not really hold the knot well, and that has been my experience. So I use a slightly different technique. What I do is take a 2x2 crimp tube and put that on the end of my wire. Using my flat nose pliers, I position that crimp tube so that it is very, very close to the end of my wire. Now I simply cover that over using my bead tip, and this creates a sturdy closure. Gently closing the bead tip over the end. There you go. Now I'm ready to do the other side. Okay, we've got our crimp tube in place, and now I just close the bead tip around that. Now I'm ready to add my clasp. And for this necklace, I'm using a split ring on the end on one side, and then I'll use a spring ring on the other end. And what I like to do is take the end of that open bead tip using my round nose pliers and close it into place so that I have a freely moving spring. This is a split ring on the end. And that way it will be easy to attach your necklace. I gently open up that ring at the end. This is this little, like an S hook at the end. Attach my spring ring and very simply repeat the process so that my ring is essentially closed and round. And now you have an elegant finish to an illusion necklace using bead tips. If you have any questions about this project or any others, please contact us at DIY@Plazko.com.